Mike, thank you so much for sticking around and talking to us for a little bit longer. For people who may not have heard the main show, give us a little bit about your experience in realty and martial arts and executive protection.
Sure. So thank you, Andy, again for having me on. Appreciate it, and definitely down for what you're doing. Name's Mike Postil, Postil, and my background, real quick, is I'm a father of three boys, husband, been married 25 years, same lady for 28, and I live in Newport Beach, California, Orange County. I have a 30-year career in various martial arts, black belt, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, been doing Filipino combatives for 22 years, boxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, judo, a little Jeet Kune Do, et cetera, et cetera. I'm probably forgetting a few things. No big deal. I am very fortunate to train with some serious experts out there. Nice thing about Southern California is we have an insane amount of martial artists out here. And so I've been fortunate to learn from the experts and also some former top tier guys who are the real warriors. So and then I have a lot of cop friends that I train with. So I have a mindset that is different from even a lot of martial artists. I take a realistic scenario based approach to self-defense, and I do not I throw out all the sport. In fact, some of the guys I train with, they don't even like using the word self-defense because it makes yourself sound like a receiver of punishment, where they are more of a feeder mindset.
Yes.
And so I get that. So, but anyways, the majority of the population doesn't. So you have to use, you go with self-defense. As
Right.
far as
Yep.
I've been in sales for 30 years as well. And I'm currently a realtor out here in Newport Beach, California. My primary area is I cover coastal Orange County, although I'll go up and down the state. And I'm currently working to obtain my real estate license in Idaho as well. We have a year-round retreat in northern Idaho to Pinpoint, Sandpoint. And then lastly is I'm an outdoor enthusiast. I love the outdoors, and my big things I'm down with is surfing, skiing, I like stand-up paddling, swimming, and all that good stuff, and the martial arts stuff. So I created a Postils podcast that highlights those three things of my life, where then I entertain experts on there that give back to our listeners so they can learn and glean information and go from there.
Very cool. Now, when you and I were talking earlier on the main show, you led me to understand that being in realty is like being in no other career because there are things that you do and when you sell your home, and for the people who work to try to sell homes, it's just different. I had Randy King on the show. He is a self-defense instructor out of Edmonton, and he one time talked about that general advice that you should never go to a second location with a stranger because you don't know what's going to happen. But then he made the point to say, but if you're a realtor, that is exactly what you do. So is it dangerous to be a real estate agent?
It can be. Are the statistics more in favor of you being okay? Sure. Just like, self-defense and crime. But do you want to be that one statistic where you're the bad statistic? I personally am a victim of crime. It sucks, to be blunt. So you want to avoid that as much as possible. How are you going to avoid that? Well, you get realistic in your mindset and in your training and situational awareness. And so obviously we talked about that earlier in the other aspect of the show. So in tying in to your prior guest, yes, real estate is probably one of the only business professions out there that you're literally inviting any stranger into your life, into your space, into your gap. And that can be concerning. So as far as a homeowner, we discussed about some things to mitigate, and now that these bonus questions, so to speak, I literally will sit down even with realtors in my my peers and explain to them it's not worth the money. So when you they've done a lot of a good job since, unfortunately, certain murders that have happened over the years.
Right.
But the bottom line is it's not worth the money of the property. So you need to really conduct an advance. And this goes back into my executive protection background. Conduct an advance of who you're potentially going to show the property to. So that comes with a phone interview. So for all you law enforcement out there that conduct interviews, it comes with a phone interview. You may have that person show up to your office. I suggest so, and make sure you have other realtors there at the time if you're a smaller agency, or if you're a bigger corporate type agency nationwide. They come to a nice office. You can meet them in a conference room and get to know them and see if they're legit. If you have someone that's just saying, hey, I don't have time to do that, just meet me at this location, but they're asking oddball questions. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
open your brain and critique this person. Do not let the thought of making X amount of commission drive you to show a home to a stranger and get close to this person. Now,
Yes.
when you go to after you hopefully did your proper due diligence on this individual or individuals, if you still have, I call it the God-given ability to, your sensors kick off, right?
Mm-hmm. Your
And
intuition. Yeah.
your intuition kicks off. Thank you. And you may want to bring an extra agent with you. You may want to bring maybe your martial art buddy or your cop friend, and you just act as if they're one of your colleagues and you guys work together. And so they're here, to help. We're both here to help you. So you come up to the front door, you let them walk. Now, when I open the door, even when I know no one is in the property, I'll open the door and say, hello, realtor Mike Postil with XYZ company. I'm announcing that I'm here at the property.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, God forbid, some homeless guy broke in the property. California has a lot of homeless issues out here. Now, I may be being over dramatic, but it has happened. Someone breaks in the house, they're living in the house, and you're at least letting your presence known. All
Right.
right.
Yes.
So, and then once you come in, I let the person walk in ahead of me, and I'm behind them. I have their
Mm-hmm.
back. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want anyone having my back. I hate it. First of all, through martial art training,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
second of all, security wise, I don't want to walk through a home. So I'll either, depending on the property, everything's different. I'll either let them walk through the whole home by themselves and come back to me, or I'll position myself in a certain area close to an exit that I can egress, whether it's a door, if I have to fly through a window, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and go from there. Now, the difference between me and other realtors is I carry certain tools as well.
Okay.
So I have equalizers with me. So it's just my training. I don't recommend this for most people. But again, you have to you work with based upon how you're trained and what your mindset is and what your willingness is. So that's a big deal. Like, I have people going, oh, I got a CCW and I da, 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 da. Well,
Mm-hmm.
where's your gun? Where's your, I don't call it that. I said, where's your tool? Where do
Yeah.
you carry it? What position do you carry it in? Do you like how's your holster? There's just so much crap I could start critiquing people on.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm no big deal. This is the way I was trained by the experts, and I'm just trying to give back. So
Right.
giving you guys a free download, a free rep. So those are kind of things that I focus on.
Sure. So, you talked about doing in advance, which means putting in the work to meet your client at a neutral location or a location that is your office where it is your home turf, and you get to size that person up. And like you said, I really like the money isn't worth it. If you think that somebody's going to do you harm, don't let chasing the money be the thing that puts you in somebody's crosshairs. I love
Mhm.
that. So let's say you're meeting with somebody, you're in the office with them. What are those sketchy behaviors that agents need to look for when they're talking with a client that might help them see that this person is not a good person?
Inconsistent questions, erratic behavior, any sort of intensity, hostility. I mentioned either now or earlier in the show, leakage, which
Mm-hmm.
means their nonverbal indicators are just not jiving. They're not maxing up with, nothing matches with what a normal home buyer, if you can call it normal, with a
Mm-hmm.
stereotypical home buyer would exhibit during a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So um there's all kinds of things. So for example, if you have an attractive female agent and the guy's asking inappropriate questions, dude, you're not here
Right.
for an open house, get the hell out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have a gentleman in and he's meeting with myself and he starts asking me just off questions that I know deep down inside this guy is not buying the home, I'll just
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, you know what, sounds like this property is probably not right for you. Or here's the other thing, I've just said, you know what, sir, based on our interview, I just don't feel I'm the right realtor for
There you
you
go.
and your needs. And
Yeah.
I want I it's just not worth it, man.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
and by the way, real quick, about a year ago, Huntington Beach, right next door to Newport Beach, a realtor went out with a family member to look at a property. There was an issue between family members. So the guy living in the house did not
Mhm.
want to sell it, but the brother did. Well, the dude comes out and greets the brother and the realtor, or actually, it might have been either it was a realtor or he was a lender or whatever. I can't remember,
Mhm.
but shot them both dead.
Oh gosh.
So, again, here's another thing to touch upon. Ask questions. Okay, why are you selling this goes back to the selling side, but why are you selling the
Mhm.
home? And
Mhm.
are there any family issues or trust issues, or
Yeah.
what do I need to be aware of 100% while you're selling this home and what your
Right.
goals? So,
Right.
that's one way you can figure out security as well.
Right. And, I had a friend of mine who had a buddy who had kind of a nightmare scenario. They went and they closed on their house. They handed over the keys. Everything was great. They went to go move in that weekend. And on Saturday, the family that sold the house is still living there. They have
Oh
not
God.
moved. And
Yeah,
they're like,
that's
hey, we literally have the keys to this house. And so I guess maybe a question that people need to throw in is if you're selling your house, is everybody on board with selling this house? Because that could have saved those lives and that story that you told, man. And I hate that.
hmm
But yeah, just is everybody on board? Um,
right.
I reached out to a good friend of mine who's a realtor, and I asked him, what are some questions that you have about security that you want Mike to answer? And one of the ones that he came back with is what suggestions do you have for female agents showing homes?
Right. So kind of goes back to what I mentioned earlier, that again, conduct a proper interview. You almost have to become a law enforcement officer at this point, or a private
Mm-hmm.
investigator. And this is where I'm no big deal, but this is where maybe my training helps me as being a better realtor and becoming a better realtor for my clients that are selling or buying their home than maybe another realtor. And I'm not, again, downplaying any other. There's wonderful realtors out there, but unfortunately, a lot of them aren't trained in security. So you literally take the money out of your head. Stop calculating your potential commissions in your head before the
Yeah.
home's even sold, before you even
Mm-hmm.
went to the home inspection. So, again, have the person show up to your office. If you work out of your home, find a close office of your company and go there. If you do everything by yourself, and maybe you're a broker and it's just you and a couple people and you all work out of your home, and especially with COVID now, then find a suite, one of those rental or leased out suite locations that you can work out of, or just obviously meet them at a public location, coffee place, whatever.
Yeah. Starbucks. Everybody's got a Starbucks. Meet him
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
so meet them at a coffee location where there's all a bunch of people around. And then you can, again, when you're meeting that person, you're talking about the home, but don't get so sucked in again about the home where then you don't ask the proper questions about security. That's protecting yourself. Ask them, okay, well, what are you looking for? What's the purpose of the home? Blah, blah. Do you have family? Are you married? Do you have kids? Certain things that where if an individual gives you different questions that seem off centered, that you're like, okay, I got to question that. And you may have to have then a follow up. Maybe the guy's genuine. Maybe he's a little autistic
Mm-hmm.
and he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
give you the right questions. Okay. So maybe then, maybe he has some sort of issue. So a health issue that's legit. So then you schedule another meeting and then go
Right.
from there. But
Right.
as far as female agents, I they might be able to answer this better, but coming from a husband of a wife who has her own business that deals with a lot of people, and again, a homeowner of 4 different homes, and I've been through the whole process. Bottom line, I walk the talk. If you're going to go show the home and you're meeting strangers, maybe you don't wear those super high heels that day.
Oh yeah. So you can run out easy.
So maybe you tone down your shoes a little bit that you can walk in better. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
you do carry something close on hand that you can pull out really quick, a thing of pepper spray.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have a tactical pin with you. Certain little tools that I train people. Hey, give this some thought when you have your meetings. And by the
Mm-hmm.
way, don't bury it in your satchel bag, computer
Right.
bag, sales bag, purse, whatever, back pocket. Have it where you can get it real quick. And then more
Right.
importantly, there's a lot of things. So you can have tracking devices on your cell phone, but again, agents, female or male. let your loved ones or your manager or your boss know where you're going, what time your meeting is, how long it should last, when you're expected to come back to the office or home. Here's the location I'm going to. Here's the address. You give all the proper necessary information so people can start tracking you
Hmm.
if it's an hour later and you're not showing up,
That's an issue.
you
You
know?
might could even have that phone call in front of the client before you go into the home. Just say, "Oh yeah, I'm here with Mr. Smith. We should be here for a little bit. I will be there at the meeting at 4 o'clock or whatever, and I will see you there." To also let them know, hey, she is going to have to be somewhere later. They're gonna know if she's missing. So
Mhm.
that's going to kind of change their plan and hopefully get somebody who has bad intentions off their game.
Agreed. And yeah, like, and you partner up, you know,
Yes.
uh,
Yeah. And with the
partner up.
partnering thing, let's say there's an agent out there and she wants to bring in somebody. You said earlier that, just say, oh, this is somebody, he's new, he's shadowing me. So he's going to be observing the process and taking a look around. I like that idea. I like the idea of having a partner out there and doing that. But is it not being in real estate?
Mhm.
Is it expected that everybody goes out on their own, or should it be more of a thing where teams of people go out?
It shouldn't be expected either way. You have
Mm-hmm.
a lot of agents, realtors that, excuse me, are on their own, and you have a lot of teams too. So I would look at it this way. It doesn't matter whether you bring someone or doesn't bring someone, and it shouldn't be an issue with the person you're meeting to potentially look at the property and who may eventually buy the property. This is how it is. And then if
Mm-hmm.
someone says, well, who is this with you? This is so and so who works in our agency and we're a team. And whether you're a team or not,
You are that
doesn't
day.
you are that day, and it doesn't freaking matter. So,
Right. Yeah.
you
And
know,
if somebody feels bad about it, you got to question their motivation as to why that client feels bad that somebody else is here.
thank you. There's another indicator right there of
Yeah.
maybe
There you go.
this
There you
person
go.
isn't legit. So you're almost setting that person up to throw those softballs out there to let you know whether they're legit or not. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, my God, it's no big deal if you have a partner with you or somebody else. Now, and again, if you don't have a team, but you want to bring with, maybe you bring your cop friend with you. Maybe you bring your martial artist friend with you. Maybe you just bring your dad with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
but then you guys have a briefing before the meeting on this is what we're doing. This is where I want you positioned. I want eyes and ears on that person. So another set of eyes is helpful. And pay attention. Your job is to watch their hands, pay attention to them, their movements, etc. How close they get to me, in case I as the agent lose focus on that, and be that proper observer where I can't do that.
Yep.
We're not well. Basically, now you're like an executive protection / bodyguard person.
Yes. Yes. Perfect. I like it. I like the whole team atmosphere. So,
Mhm,
speaking of kind of the EP stuff, and you kind of talked about this a second ago,
mhm.
what is your advice for agents who are considering concealed carry permits and other defensive tools with them?
I would first and foremost say, what's your mindset? What's your intentions? How well trained are you? Are you willing to train every month? Are you?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever used a firearm before? If so, how long ago was it? Do you have the proper safe and secured storage at your home?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how to go through the whole protocol between storing it in your safe or underneath, say, a shoebox safe, or just all this stuff, and then putting it onto your whether you're at your 2 or 3 o'clock position, which is your hip, to whether you carry appendix, and do you have the training for that? Because it's one thing to say, yeah, I got a CCW and I'm protected. No, you're not. No, you're not. If you're not trained properly with that tool, you're possibly endangering yourself and others.
Right.
And by the way, Mr. So-called CCW holder, if you let one round, one BB loose, you're responsible for where that round
Yes.
goes.
Yes, you are.
And if you miss your intended target on a very bad day, that bad day just became a hell of a lot worse if that starts traveling through walls and you kill a neighbor or someone in that house that's just in the other room looking at a property. Now you're
Right.
dealing with whole ramifications of legality issues and bye-bye. So um, there is, it's almost, if you really get into the whole thing about CCW, when I'm not trying to talk anybody out of it, believe me, I have a CCW. It's no big
Hmm.
deal, but I have I, I am I am so like intense about my proficiency at safety and awareness before I put that tool anywhere near me.
Hmm.
And I have bottom line respect for that.
Yes,
There's a
respect
lot of
it.
people. So unfortunately, there's a lot of people due to education, ignorance, whatever, don't have all that, don't have the training, and they don't want to put the training in. So I would seriously consider all that before you even think of a CCW. And then once you do, okay, well, then you got to go through the whole process. And some counties, cities, areas, states are better than others.
Very cool. Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question,
No,
Andy,
it
but
does, because and that's what a lot of people think, and especially we saw that during COVID. A lot of people just went out and they bought firearms and thought, "Oh, I have a firearm now, so I'm safe." And
yeah.
unless you know how to use it, unless you know how it works, and unless you absolutely respect it, it is a tool that can do things to save your life, or it can do things to make your life worse. So you've really got to understand and respect what it does. And a lot of people, I hate to say, don't really understand the whole, if you miss, that round is not just going to stop at the drywall. It's going to keep going. It could actually exit the house, go through a window, and lead to all sorts of trouble. So I appreciate you
Mhm.
bringing that up, because I know a lot of people think about it, but do they really weigh the decision before they actually go and make a purchase?
Right. And I know this is a quick segment. We could literally spend an hour just talking about this one topic. So
Oh, absolutely.
if anyone's listening and going, Mike, you didn't go over this, or you didn't cover this, or you suck because you didn't say that. Well, listeners, we're just talking this is just a Cliff Notes version of some
Yes.
serious topics.
Right. So you've talked about, you've done this for a long time. Have you ever had an experience where you personally felt like your safety was on the line as a realtor?
I would say my attention, my awareness was heightened when I
Hmm.
had a group of individuals come in that looked like they had some bad intentions.
Hmm.
But through my training, I'm just one of those guys, by the way, that just doesn't panic. It's not in my blood. I've been in a bunch of stuff where it could cause for, oh my God,
Hmm.
hit the fire alarm, go down the pole. No, I don't. I'm one of those guys that gets more pissed off about screwing in a light bulb than getting into a fight. I just don't panic. So,
Hmm.
you panic, you die, to be blunt. So
Yeah.
certain people have it. I guess I do. So, bottom line is, I I I had an experience where a couple of people came in. All that did was heighten my awareness. It made me, okay, where's my positioning? Where's my back? Where's the exit? Is that window open? If I had to, I was literally sitting in a room. I'm like, if I can't get through that door because that dude blocks it. Well, I actually opened up the window behind me. I'll fly through that window. But in the same token, I'm going to pick up the chair or my briefcase bag or one of my tools and throw it at them to distract them momentarily. Will
Hmm.
they'll close their eyes, hands up, all that kind of stuff. That gives me a valuable 1-2 seconds that I can get out. So yeah, these are just the things that go into my head through my training and through the fortunately training with the realistic warriors of the world that have done
Hmm.
this kind of stuff. I, other than just weird people coming in and I keep my eyes on them, I haven't had anything super hardcore. Maybe that goes to my training.
Right.
I could spend a whole segment on bad things that have happened to agents though. So
Right. Well, you talk about your positioning, and if somebody blocks the door, you're going to open the window. You and I have talked about nonverbal communication on and off. And when a criminal sees somebody who knows how to dance, they know what's up, because when you take up positioning and where you put yourself, that tells them you know what they're up to, and you take away their element of surprise. So it's this silent communication that
mm,
goes on between a hunter and a protector of, hey man, you really want to try that? No, you don't? That's fine. Nothing really happened here. It's just
it,
two dudes standing in a room. That's all that really happened here.
it's like the wolf or the fox and the sheepdog,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the
Mm-hmm.
sheep or the sheeple or the people. So you nailed it, Andy. It's a very unique dichotomy, and I have seen this a lot, whether I'm doing executive protection or being a realtor, where there has been that nonverbal communication, and like you and I are looking at each other right now on this call.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And you and I are like, cool, you're a bro, I'm a bro. I look like a good guy, that kind of thing. there have been things where I've had guys where I'm looking them up and down, casing their body and looking for clips, blades, or I'm
Hmm.
looking for printing gun,
Yep.
or I'm looking for sap or any sort of tool. And they're doing it to me, and they're looking me up and down. And then we both look at each other, and maybe
uh,
just both two good guys. Maybe
uh,
the kid's a cop,
mhm,
and I've actually experienced where we're like checking each other out,
uh,
not in a
and,
sexual sense, but
right.
security sense.
Hmm.
And and we just smile and we're like,
Hmm.
okay, yeah, we're on the same page. Or like you said, it's a bad dude, and then there's me. And then we're
Hmm.
looking at each other, and that guy goes, okay, this realtor actually has this crap together.
Hmm.
Yep. You're taking that potential nefarious individual situation and then protruding it to tell him to go somewhere else.
Right.
As bad as that may seem, well, you don't want it. So dude, you go take
Yeah.
your issues somewhere else.
Absolutely.
No,
Absolutely.
that's a great point you brought up. Yeah, it's a funny, that is an interesting situation when you see that. Yeah.
It's weird when you realize somebody's doing it to you because you're used to doing it to somebody else. So
Right.
yeah, that's always
Absolutely.
fun. So one of the things that you have talked about through our main show and through our bonus here today is that you can listen to this podcast and you can read books about this, but you really need to go and do some hands-on training if you
Mm,
really want to be all about your personal safety, right?
that's my biggest pet peeve with security and all the so-called experts that I've been fortunate to be around for 30 years. And I'm talking forensic psychiatrists to cops to top tier one dudes to whatever you come out there that you involved with. Um, we all agree on the same thing. People value their security like foremost. But
Hmm.
when it comes to put the proper time in, so you have some sort of skill set, most people don't want to do that. They find every freaking excuse to not spend the time to train properly. So what are you doing is you're setting yourself up to fail. When you fail to plan, you set yourself up to fail, period. And so this is what I tell people. I said, how's your skill set level? Because guess what? If you think it's so great, when the fits hit the shan and it's knucking futs and you're
Hmm.
freaked out and your endorphins are kicking in and your stress level is so high and you're getting that tunnel vision and then your mouth gets so dry and you can't speak properly and now you're doing verbal judo issues and you got a scary situation presented in front of you, that's not the time to wish you had done X, Y, and Z. And guess
Yeah.
what? Your skill set tumbles down to your base level.
Yes, it
It's like
does.
when I do shooting courses with these gnarly guys, and we make it really stressful to induce your heart rate and your breathing and everything else to try and create a realistic scenario. When I'm super calm, look, I'm not a great shooter. But I'm okay. But when I shoot and everything's relaxed and all that stuff, I'm okay. But then when you induce all these other factors, things tumble down. And
Hmm.
so that's what's going to happen to every single human being on in this world, every single human is you're going to tumble down to what your base level skill set is. If you don't train at all, but you read books on the greatest takedowns to the implement this and that because you love reading books, but you don't do any hands on. These are perishable skills, Andy. You don't
Yeah.
practice. You don't what you look, man. You lose what you don't practice. I'm
Hmm.
saying that wrong, but which you oh my good lord. Anyway, so
You
um
need to put in the work, is what you're saying.
absolutely, it drives me nuts. You need to like people like, oh, I'll just buy pepper spray and I'm fine. Oh, really? Okay.
Hmm.
Real quick story because I know this is quick. Cop friend of mine, his wife's a realtor. He gets her pepper spray. She goes to an open house. She puts the pepper spray in her purse, but then she puts her purse hidden in a closet so no one steals the purse.
Mm.
Hello, you
Yeah.
just took away your equalizer.
Right.
And she's an attractive lady.
Hmm.
There may be some piece of garbage that thinks they can get the one up on her.
Hmm.
Well, you may be able to defend yourself enough to get out of the room, but that you may have needed that pepper spray too, because I'm telling you, most criminals work in packs.
Yes.
They're a bunch of freaking
Yes.
wolves, and most
Hmm.
attacks are what we call mass attack. Atienza phenomenal system. They're very good at mass attacks. Kali, which I'm part of, we go over all that. So mass attack, and
Got it.
you're gonna get barbecued.
Yeah.
My first jujitsu coach, Hoist Gracie, back in November '92. I asked him, "Well, what if you have multiple attackers?" And he looked at me, goes, and he's from Brazil. I mean, it's gnarly stuff. He's like, "Mike, if you have multiple people and they want to barbecue you, they'll eventually get you.
Ugh.
So it's a matter how trained you are,
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
they'll get you, but then can you get away? Or do you curl up in the fetal position and end up being cannon fodder?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
this is serious stuff, man. If you truly value your life and you want to go back to your wife and kids at the end of the day, now I'm speaking like a cop or a military person, you got to put the time in and train.
Mm-hmm.
Stop being so freaking lazy.
Yeah.
Stop
And
going
don't
to, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
and don't be scared about it either. Because the people who want to train you, the people who want to do this stuff, this is how they make their living. They want to
Mm-hmm.
help you. They want to see you come in day one, and then whether how long you stay, if it's for 12 weeks, it's for a year, and when you walk out the door, they can say, I made a huge impact on that person's life, and they're going to be safe wherever they go. That's why they do it. They want you to come in there and they don't want you to feel uncomfortable. And I've had to pick up the phone and cold call somebody to try to, get training and that sort of stuff. And you have to kind of work yourself up for that, but it's
Mm-hmm.
worth it and it's going to be okay. So don't be scared. Pick up the phone, get testimonials from people that find out who's good in town and who's not, and pick up
Mm-hmm.
that phone and call and go to a class.
Yes, and to add on that, I would recommend also maybe going to a few locations to see which might fit your personality better than others. And certain systems you're going to jive to better than others. Certain moves your body anatomy does better than others. So great point, Andy. I'd also recommend interviewing people. And that's one thing I created this company, SASDEF, Situational Awareness, Self-Defense. I created this company several years ago, but I I combined everything. So basically everything we're talking about, people wanting it, but they don't put the time in. I created a system where to over to over to get over that hurdle, so to speak, and
Very
address
cool.
those. So
Very
yeah.
cool. Well, Mike, you know what, man? I appreciate your time. I think I held you a little bit longer than I wanted to, but where can people find out more about you?
So good or bad, I'm on every freaking social media platform out there. So just basically Google my name, Mike Postil, P as in Papa, O S as in Sierra, TIL, Mike Postil, in Google. I'll light up like a Christmas tree, and I'm sure you'll find my social media sites. I'm on all of them though, and unfortunately, due to being a realtor, and then I have a website, Mike Postil Real Estate, and a YouTube channel.
Very cool, Mike. Thank you so much for what you're doing. I appreciate how you're giving back and how you're making safer lives for folks.
Hey, Andy, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate the opportunity to tell my side of things, so to speak, and congrats on what you're doing. And I appreciate you giving back and helping people too. What you're doing is valuable. Good job.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
You bet. Take care.